Justin Gibson
I
took my.
was never gonna have a beard.
Not this
Ever.
You're never gonna have facial hair.
Or guys don't really mature. Or
Cody's
don't,
not gonna mature.
I say
until he's
man
like
bodies still.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like 26, and I'm not gonna have a beard.
I don't
So
even have hair follicles under my arms.
Kyle, how many times are you gonna tell us?
All right. Y'all are FYI, y'all are on video. So.
Oh, okay. Hey, y'all. I'm fabulous.
Okay, so 254 is where we are, and let me find my PowerPoint. But I guess I'll put it up. Smell and taste. So last of our senses to talk about. Pretty interesting. So, all right, we're going to look at olfactory sense, which is basically just your sense of smell. Anytime you hear the word olfactory, think smell. Okay, so the olfactory bulbs in your brain, those are where it figures out what you're smelling, things like that. Then we'll talk about taste in a minute. All right, so specifically, these, and we'll go on to this slide, but you can follow along in here. Okay, the olfactory region is actually, so the way that your nose is shaped is it's separated on the right and left sides, and it's separated by a septum, okay? And you can kind of see your septum, right? It's right between your nostrils. So it goes all the way back to the nasal cavity.
Oh, it's this part right here? Is that why when they get their nose pierced, like right there, and they call it a septum nose?
Yes.
Oh.
like people get the bone through their nose.
No, like right here. You know, like right.
Like a cow.
Yeah, a bull.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm gonna get one of those.
Anyway.
Huh?
My mom used to have a nose ring.
So, anyway, so that's the septum. So you have nasal passages, and we'll look more at those specifically when we get to the respiratory system. But at the top of each of your nasal, like the right and left sides of your nasal cavity, there's an olfactory region. The old book said it was about the size of like a stamp that you put on a letter. This one said dime size, maybe dime size on either side, whatever it is. So it's just kind of sits at the very top of your nasal cavity. Look, and this picture's in your book too on 255, but it's just right at the very top of the nasal cavity up here. Okay. A few other things to note that you can see. These are your sinuses, right frontal, back here, maxillary, it's probably ethmoid, or this, well, sphenoid, it's probably sphenoid sinus. So that's that. This little organ that's hanging down kind of from the brain right here, that's the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. So like my dad, for example, had a pituitary tumor. And so basically, I mean, as you can see in here, there's not any room for a tumor to grow. So it usually grows back up out of that little area for the pituitary gland up into this brain space up here. So, and his actually like part of it wrapped around his carotid artery. It's a pretty severe one. But the way that the first surgery they did, and when they removed it several years ago, they went through the nose, and then they go through these sinus bones in here up to get to it, to the pituitary gland. Pretty cool. Pretty cool if they can do that. You know, otherwise, I don't know how you'd get to it.
I have a big nose.
Anyway. So, okay, next thing on here, olfactory receptor cells. Okay, these are also called chemoreceptors. Why do you think they're called chemoreceptors?
Wait, what?
Chemoreceptors, olfactory receptor cells. We talked about the ones in your eyes being called photoreceptors because they receive light. Talked about ears were what, I can't think of the word right now, but anyway. Photoreceptors, I'm not sure. These chemoreceptors, think it receives chemicals.
Oh,
Okay, chemical. So those are actually the receptors or the sensory neurons. We know sensory neurons do what? What do sensory neurons do? Think back to nerves chapter, not very long ago.
At the afferent.
Afferent.
Afferent, so they send it to the brain. Or
Right, they pick up, right, they get messages from the stimulus, send it to the brain. So these chemoreceptors or olfactory receptors are afferent neurons that pick up that from that stimulus and send messages back to the brain. Olfactory receptor cells. Olfactory hairs are on the end of these cells, and they're actually kind of what's in the top of your nasal cavity. So your nasal cavity has like a strip of mucus all the way, like everywhere inside of it, which makes sense, right? Why is mucus necessary there?
so like dry up. Maybe.
Okay, because that's part of it. Yeah, it's a mucus membrane. So
it's like a fly
it's
trap.
a wet membrane. Do what? It could, yes. So it helps to keep bacteria and allergens from going all the way down into your lungs. So those are two great examples. So yeah, so you have this mucus layer. These hairs are actually located in the mucus layer. And look how it connects to these cells. And then these cells go on back up here to create the olfactory nerve up here. And then it's like directly attached to the olfactory bulb. They're all right there together. You can kind of see that in this picture. Here's the olfactory bulb at the bottom of the brain. And the nerve is attached to the nerve there. And it's back up. So what happens is these odor molecules, and it only takes a few of them to make you smell something. It only takes a few of these molecules, but they basically disintegrate or get absorbed into this mucus layer, and then those olfactory hairs respond to that, send a message back up to the brain. Yes.
Like what's happening when like you walk into a room, like it has like a certain smell to it, but eventually you just get used to it.
That's called fatigue, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Well, you'll talk about it in your lab. Yeah, it's like your nose adapts to that smell. You know, I mean, even if you're wearing cologne, right? You smell it when you first put it on, but then you don't really notice it again throughout the day, even though other people still notice. It's like you get tolerant to it, or your nose adapts to it. Yeah, it says your olfactory receptors are very sensitive. It only takes a few molecules of inhaled odor to stimulate, but then it adapts really quickly as well. Olfactory filaments lead to the nerves, which leads to the bulb and then the brain. So I think it's bulb and brain. So that's kind of the way odors work. Odor molecules enter your nasal passages, get absorbed into the mucus, which the hairs pick up on, and then sends the message on to your brain. Here's something really interesting. I think it's so interesting about this. It says the olfactory pathway to the brain travels through the limbic system. That is the part of your brain that deals with emotions. So these nerves, these neurons, these electrical stimulation from smells activates as it goes up to your brain, your limbic system or your emotions, which you ever notice smells can like trigger memories or trigger emotions.
Yeah, like sometimes I smell something familiar and I'm like, oh, I remember that now.
Yeah.
But I heard like on some science channel or something, it could have been the Science Channel or National Geographic or whatever, it was talking about like how the body works and stuff. And it was saying that women are attracted to like the odor men give off, like sweat.
Pheromones.
Yeah, pheromones or sweat.
I've heard that before too. Kind of like animals put off pheromones. But that's it, part of that. All right, injuries and disorders of the nose. So rhinitis. What's the literal meaning of rhinitis?
Inflammation of the nose.
Yes.
Ooh, I knew
Rhino
that
is
too.
nose. Itis is inflammation. So if you've ever been to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, you have allergic rhinitis. All that means is that you have a runny nose or an inflamed nasal passages related to like your seasonal allergies. Like if you're allergic to cedar, it makes your nose run. That's allergic rhinitis, things like that. Okay. Septum problems can look like a couple different things. You can have a deviated septum.
What's that?
So remember, your septum is what separates your nasal cavity. So it could be you broke your nose and it got moved. I would think most probably fighters.
Oh, is that what happened to Tanner's nose?
What's happened to
Like,
you? Isn't it?
Yeah, probably somewhere.
Tanner's
Mine's
nose
not
was
that
like this
bad.
when he got in the wreck.
You look like you got
Yeah.
beat up.
Mine did too.
Yeah, I was super swollen.
Sometimes I'll go back, or like my dad, when he had his surgery and they had to go through his nose to get to that tumor, they
had to break
deviated his septum, so that they could have enough space to work.
Like when they put that thing in your ribs and they like spin or whatever to open up. Sometimes your ribs break.
What? What?
I'm not sure which one.
That
I
thing
don't know
that
if
they
they
like,
spin.
it's like a cage thing that they put and they use it to like both like spread your ribs.
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever.
they've got all, the choices.
Oh, and I need to ask you a question after you're
So that, and then the other thing you can have is a perforated septum. Anytime you hear perforated, it's like when we're looking up like a perforated eardrum.
Oh, it's
Yesterday, you know, the
punctured.
picture, yeah, it has a hole in it. Usually that's caused from some kind of bad, I mean, it could be an injury, but usually it's like drug use, like repeated drug use, like snorting cocaine or some kind of
Kyle,
drug that's
I bet you
used
have
through your
Oh,
nose.
I saw something like that on Dr.
Kyle
G
has
medical exam.
And
They
then-
showed like a
Would a piercing
Or like
count as-
toxic chemicals, like if you work around toxic chemicals for long periods of time, that can something else that can perforate the septum.
I don't get how they do that stuff.
I know, remember when you told us what's in that stuff?
Oh, I know. Well, that was meth, but yeah.
I don't know that.
breaking that.
I don't even.
But they use
Maybe it was in
people.
that other
I
class.
guess so.
All right, that's it. Any questions about the nose or smell receptors or anything? No. Nothing about those. Okay, let's go on to taste. A few more minutes and then we'll be done. All right. Gustatory is the word that's associated with taste. So when you hear that word, think taste. Gustatory or gustatory. I always say gustatory, but it could be gustatory.
Gusto.
Gustatory.
Taste is very much influenced by smell. So you ever noticed if you have a cold and your nose is really stopped up,
You can't.
You can't
you
taste
very
anything.
well.
Or like when you
It's a
hold your
mixture.
nose to eat something,
Yeah.
I still taste it. I swear I do.
Well, you probably tasted a little bit,
Oh,
but
so
not
you
as
still
strong. Like if you have bad medicine or something, you have to take it. Okay, so anatomy of the taste bud is this picture. It's at the bottom of 257 in your
Looks like
book.
an onion.
And it does look like an onion.
It does.
And you like,
So a taste pore is just an opening in your tongue or papillae. That's like the big bumps on your tongue that you see.
Wow.
Those are papillae. And a taste pore is an opening in that actually opens up to where your taste buds are. So gustatory hairs actually come off the top of that. It's kind of like your olfactory, like I said, those olfactory neuron hairs. That picks up the chemicals themselves and to register them to your brain about taste. Those attached to the gustatory cells or taste cells, and then attached to that is the actual neuron that heads back to the nerve. And there's 3 different nerves, facial nerves, that have to do with taste. Let's see, taste buds are on, one thing you may not know, taste buds are on your lips, tongue, sides, top, and back of your mouth. So they're not just on your tongue. You have taste buds in other areas of your mouth. Most of them are on the tongue, but
like in like this part of your mouth, like your lip
Wait,
where
do you
people
have
dip.
like
it says that most are on the tongue. Each bud contains 50 to 100 gustatory cells. And then they can have all 5 sensations. So there's 5 taste sensations. You're probably familiar with at least 4 of them, right? Salty,
Sweet, bitter, salty.
Spicy.
sour. The last one. Now, the fifth one is called
Oh, wait.
umami.
Umami.
Ooh, mommy, you fine.
Umami?
Ooh, mommy.
Umami. That's how I'm saying it. I don't know.
That's how
That's
I'm
how
gonna
it looks.
remember it. That's how I'm gonna pass it on.
This is like the taste of beef. I think I don't have these. I'm
It
not a big
tastes like a
like steak
beef.
eater or beef eater. I mean, I like it, but I'm not like.
Steak tastes pretty
But
good.
it says also the taste of monosodium glutamate, which is a seasoning that's a lot of times used to process foods. I feel like I don't have an issue. I probably do have once that sometimes because I like processed food too much.
Mm-mm.
So one gustatory cell can only respond to one type of taste or one type of chemical, sour, sweet, salty, bitter. But within one bud, you can have multiple types of cells. Does that make sense? And then you have different areas of your tongue, right, that have more of one type of cell or another. That's what y'all are going to look at tomorrow. See which areas of your tongue you can taste different tastes more than others.
We should.
Are you gonna have food for us?
We should have to eat
No, I have
sour
little
candy.
jars of stuff.
We should have to eat sour candy to test this stuff.
Or ice cream for the sweet part.
Yeah.
She said,
I know.
We could
I've
have
been-
a
I've
cake
been
by
big on
whatever
ice
because
cream
it
this
has all
pregnancy
this
for whatever
stuff.
reason. So that's that. All right. So basically, what happens is food mixes with saliva in your mouth, and that produces says chemical molecules from food dissolve in the saliva to produce tastants. Makes sense. And then these stimulate the gustatory hairs on your taste buds, which stimulate the hairs, and then which stimulate the cells, head to your nerve, and up to your brain. So that we can, we have like 10,000 different things that we can taste. What did it say? Average person is able to distinguish approximately 10,000 different flavors.
Dang.
So you don't recognize, like it says, you don't recognize peach or tomato or lime. Your brain pulls out the chemicals that are in those and then translates it into a certain taste. That makes sense? Kind of like color, like you only have those few color receptors, but when they're all mixed together in your brain, they come out as purple or pink or whatever. Same idea. Pretty cool. It says flavor is actually a combination of taste, smell, texture, or consistency and temperature. Many people have aversions to food and beverages whose consistency they don't find appealing. Do you have any consistencies you just really don't like?
tomatoes.
Oh, I love tomatoes.
Tomatoes are the worst. No, onions are the worst. Tomatoes are also pretty
No,
good.
Matt can eat onions like raw. He
I
can
don't.
knock it out.
I don't like ketchup.
Ketchup.
That's that.
Oh, sauerkraut.
No.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't do like cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese is pretty good.
I can't do.
Actually, I just won't
peaches,
try
it
it. Like,
tastes
I don't
that's
like
just-
peaches. I don't like peaches at all. I don't like peach flavor. I don't like peach.
What about that peach?
Real
I
peaches.
did not
I
like-
don't like peach
You're not even my
tea.
favorite teacher.
I don't like those little peach rings.
I like the peach tea
I
from
like peach
McAllister's.
You're not even my favorite teacher.
Don't like peaches at all. And
That's
I just don't like cottage cheese because
Peaches don't
I never
like
even
you
tried it.
anyway.
But
You never
yeah,
tried
the
it?
texture,
Peaches
I
like
just
you
can't do
this.
texture.
My mom gets it and like will eat it with yogurt, and I eat it sometimes. I can eat like 2 spoonfuls.
I don't do peaches.
I don't like any more.
I don't even
I
like the smell.
love peaches from Canton, Texas.
No.
Peaches actually.
Oh,
are
and
They're
that
okay.
farm.
Yeah.
not better than
So,
Lemon
That's that. It's funny. Spicy foods, listen to
Heck
this,
yeah.
stimulate not only gustatory cells but also pain receptors in the mouth.
I love
If there's a
Takis.
person that loves spicy food, it's JC.
And
I
because
love
everyone perceives pain differently, some people enjoy it.
Teachers,
Some
pardon this interruption. If any student knows a Rianne Boatman, please come to the office.
Boatman.
What?
Don't worry about yourself.
No, that's weird.
Don't worry about
Kyle's about to get
Yeah,
hit in the
Do it.
face, dude.
Do it.
All right.
Stab Connie ear.
So last thing is disorders of the tongue. One of these is kind of gross to me.
Ew, hairy tongue.
It says the powerful muscles of your tongue enable you to speak and chew and swallow food. So there's a few things that are normal, right? You bite your tongue, it gets injured. What do you notice about your tongue versus other parts like your skin?
It looks like a starfish.
What do you notice about if you injure it?
I bit my tongue open in the 3rd grade, like cut it open. Like when I
If
bit
it starts
and like,
bleeding, it just stops
kind of
because.
flapped over.
Okay.
And I had to push it back.
Like,
And
it
if you
swells?
burn it, it will be like that for
And
a
it
while,
hurts
and it
super
sucks.
bad.
And you stop tasting, it's good. Cause one time I had these noodles were so good, and
Oh,
I
no.
burnt my tongue, and they just got like.
It gets rough, like if you burn your
It
tongue.
does. What happens the next day?
It's still burnt.
It's numb.
What
No.
happens the next day?
I feel like, if you bite your tongue, it just,
It hurts
Goes back
bad.
to normal.
yeah, it's,
It goes back to normal
Yeah.
pretty quickly. Considering, you notice it more because you use your tongue. Every time you eat or talk, you use it. But if you think about like an injury to your skin versus an injury to your tongue or the inside of your mouth, like if you get an ulcer or something in your cheek, they usually heal up within a day or two, right? And you don't even notice them anymore.
Like a star.
So if you had an ulcer and if you kept like poking it with your tongue, would it make it take longer to heal?
Probably.
Because every time I have an ulcer, I'm like,
So weird.
Probably so, but
Dumb.
because you're not letting it heal up. But
So
anyways,
dumb.
point is, mucous membranes, like inside of your nose, it's the same way, tend to heal very quickly. And same thing with tongue and inside of your
Is
mouth.
that like when you get a nosebleed, like it only lasts for like a minute or whatever?
what about those
Maybe
people that?
so.
What about those people that can, like cut their tongue in half or whatever? Like, how like that?
I know a
So
girl-
I'm gonna do
weird.
that.
She used to go here.
Let me finish.
That
so we can
Oh,
get-
you
Look
can't
at-
like
for
fix
everybody.
that. You
So, infection, of course, can occur. That's with anything because you have a lot of bacteria in your mouth. But so,
Special taste.
injuries, like I said, bite your tongue or you fall down and bite your tongue with your teeth. And then abnormal growth. So, one condition is called hairy tongue.
Ugh.
And I'll let you guys Google pictures of that.
Oof.
I'll do
No.
that.
my mom knew a guy with hairy tongue.
So, one, it said that you can fix it and prevent it just by brushing your tongue. So when you brush your teeth, make sure you brush your tongue.
I broke my tongue.
But what happens is it's an overgrowth of those gustatory hairs.
Hairy tongue from chewing. Yep.
So it could tobacco, smoking, excessive coffee drinking.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so dark.
It looks like bugs.
It looks
Okay,
like
it's pretty
someone
gross.
rubbed it all over their tongue.
So any of those things can cause it. And there's some medications. There's some medications that you take that can also cause that, but you just brush it really good. And then the other one on here is burning mouth syndrome, which sounds really horrible and annoying and miserable. It says a sensation of moderate to severe burning in the mouth that may continue for months or years.
Ew.
Months or years.
And just having a burning
That's
mouth.
when you just start eating cheese.
Sometimes anxiety and depression
Milk.
can develop.
Cheese helps with the burning sensation. That's
You
why
drink
you eat
milk.
cheese after
Listen.
you eat oatmeal.
Related symptoms can include tingling, numbness, or dryness of the mouth, or a bitter metallic taste.
Ew.
Like,
Condition can
blood.
arise from damage to the receptors, chronic dry mouth, nutritional deficiencies, hormone changes, acid reflux, especially if it heads all the way back up to your mouth, right?
That's
And then,
nasty.
or infection. So they just have to figure out what's causing it and then they can treat it. But crazy.
That's just
That'd be a sad life,
disgusting.
right? Your mouth burning all the time. So anyway, that's it. You guys, again, tomorrow y'all are going to do a lab. Please read the lab instructions before you get here tomorrow so that you have a clue as to what to do. I have straws over there. Miss Trapp is going to bring some Q-tips because I didn't bring you today. And y'all can cut those straws and use them. I think I put some in the box. You can use those.
Okay.
And
I have a whole box of Q-tips in mine.
Is one of our things tomorrow soda? I hope not. I can't drink soda.
Hold up. Weed and boy.
you're not going to be really drinking anything.
Oh.
It's going to be different tastes, and you're going to touch them to different parts of your tongue with like a Q-tip.
Oh, okay.
So,
Next time, see you talk about.
anyway, so that's what y'all are going to do tomorrow. Listen, Monday's flex day. Tuesday, your
Packages
chapter
due.
packets
Oh,
are due,
no.
so make sure they're done.
What was
That's
that?
You're
it.
growing hair on your tongue, Jason.
Oh, I bet.
I see it. That's at the back.
I see you.